Today we're going to be answering the question of whether or not the Denver Nuggets can get it done a second time in a row, really. Thanks for tuning in to another video. As always, it's your boy Wraith Hoops. Make sure to like this video, comment your thoughts about the topic, and subscribe for more NBA content as the season goes underway. Things have been very interesting this offseason for many teams in the league, but it's been kind of boring and mundane in a sense for the Denver Nuggets. Not so much to say that they haven't done anything exemplary, but more so to say that their losses and their additions just haven't really pushed the needle much for them, but in an underlying way, they have been mildly substantial. As it is understood, they ran more of a 8-man rotation when it came later and deeper into the playoffs, and two of those important pieces did end up leaving this offseason. Their biggest losses in the offseason were Bruce Brown, who ended up going to the Pacers, Thomas Bryant, who went to the Miami Heat, Jeff Green, who went to the Houston Rockets, Ish Smith is still a free agent, and then Jack White went to the Oklahoma City Thunder. Now, the two people from that list that I just described that I really want to focus on are going to be Bruce Brown and Jeff Green. Now, infamously, the coach said that they would end up keeping Bruce when he was, enjoying the highs of the championship. Obviously, that wasn't the case, and they did end up losing him, but also losing Jeff Green. While Jeff Green isn't exactly an elite player, he was part of that 8-man rotation. He did play significant minutes down the stretch of their playoff runs. So losing both of them when you only go 8 deep is going to be very important. So it's just going to be more of a thing of, can they recover and how will they do so? Understanding this is okay because they still do have Reggie Jackson, and obviously he was backing up Jamal Murray. Not to say that Jamal Murray really needed much backup because he was shooting, honestly, just playing the greatest basketball of his career in that last playoff series. The additions that they had are Justin Holiday from the Mavericks, James Huff from the Wizards, Jalen Pickett, the 32nd pick overall from Penn State, Julian Strother, the 29th overall pick from Gonzaga, and Tyson Hunter, who was a 37th overall pick from Clemson. Now, we can expect them to play some decent minutes in the regular season, but bar any dramatic breakouts, we're not really expecting anything amazing from this list, particularly this upcoming season. Now, they did end up re-signing Colin Gillespie for the qualifying offer that was extended. They re-signed Reggie Jackson, which was big for them because he was part of that 8-man rotation. And they also re-signed DeAndre Jordan. So I'm expecting that DeAndre Jordan will be kind of the guy that slips into that 8-man rotation under the assumption that he isn't completely broken physically. It's reasonable to assume that they're going to make sure that they do the most to maybe find somebody else in free agency that might be available. There's not much left considering that Christian Wood did end up actually going to the Lakers, and Danny Green ended up going back to the 76ers recently. But the most important part for this team is the fact that their entire starting five returns and they have really, really good chemistry. And that's kind of hard to see because you see a lot of teams that are built kind of weird where it's like a bunch of good players, but their fit is a little bit weird and you have to see it play out. A good example of this was the Brooklyn Nets when they had James Harden, Kyrie Irving, and Kevin Durant. And in this upcoming season, the team that's most like that I'll do a separate video about would be the Phoenix Suns, because they do have Bradley Beal, they do have Devin Booker, and they do have Kevin Durant, who are all three in their own ways extremely prolific scorers. The lowest shooter out of the three of them was Devin Booker, and he shot 49% from the field. And they all shoot very well from the three-point line. They're all good ball players. They're all above average to average as far as distributing the rock. And while they're not particularly great defenders, the issue for them is going to be whether or not they can make it work amongst themselves. They're not the most cohesive unit because they're all variations of the same player in a sense. When you look at the Denver Nuggets, the thing that made them so different was the fact that they all have their own niche role. You had your point guard in Jamal Murray, who was shooting lights out, going unconscious from the three-point line, making things go when he entered the lane, making the right decisions, and not turning the ball over and making costly mistakes. You had Caldwell Pope, who was a three-point shooter, also found his way as on back cuts and things like that. He was doing all the little things that a two guard really needed to do to be effective while he was on the floor. Michael Porter Jr. was another person. They always call him the man that never passes, which is fair because he really just has more games with no assists than games with one assist or more. But the thing is, he's an efficient shooter and he's a scorer at heart. He's not an elite defender. He's an okay defender. He wasn't exactly as bad as I originally anticipated he would have been last season on the defensive side of the ball. And shout out to Jokic for finally dispelling the he can't play defense or he's a bad defender narrative that was surrounding him, because he was holding his own on the inside. And he wasn't getting exposed in the pick and roll as much as people assumed that he would have in the most recent playoff year. Obviously, there was also the Aaron Gordons of the world, and he was important because he was a lob threat. He does have a sense of a shooting touch now. He's good in the pick and roll. He's a great defender, good, solid rim protector. He just gets the job done. He doesn't overlap too much with what Jokic does, and I think that's what allows him to be an effective player. So you had a culmination of players where you had an elite scorer in Jamal Murray, an elite scorer in Jokic, who was hitting some absolutely insane shots. And then you also have the best playmaker as a center in Jokic, and still just solid playmaking all around. You have people that are job is specifically to score the rock. You have people that are solid defenders. And that's another thing about KCP. He was also a solid defender, and you kind of needed that because it gives Jamal Murray the opportunity not necessarily to rest on defense, but not to be expected to be forced to take the primary ball dominant handler on the defense side of the ball while also being expected to score 25 to 30 points on a night in, night out basis. With that being said, I believe that a repeat is in sight for them simply because their starting five is as good and cohesively gelling as they are. But it's going to be a question as, can they have the next man stand up for that bench unit? Is it going to be DeAndre Jordan? Is it going to be one of their recent additions? Justin Holiday, perhaps. Maybe it's going to be one of the draft picks. I could see that potentially happening. Reggie Jackson's still there, so you do have that depth at the point guard spot, but you want to find out very quickly who those next two guys are going to be for that next playoff run, because that's going to determine how well people are going to be gassed or how efficient people are going to be able to shoot and run the floor when they're on the court in those late game situations when things need to be executed and you need a bucket. But with that being said, tell me your thoughts in the comments below. Make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, turn on those post notifications, join the Patreon if you're feeling up to it. Good morning, good evening, good night. I'm ready where you are on the globe watching. Thanks for tuning into this one. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.